the same road, under the same share the love. Embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. And now that we stand in love's pure mind. Watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one, beating out peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. Now that we stand in love's pure mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Watching the World, where news meet the law. And quite frankly, this week we've had so much to talk about that has developed. And already in the audience, we have Eric, JDP, we have so many great supporters. But what's unique about our show today is that we are blessed to have a criminal defense attorney that's like none other. His name is Calvin Johnson, and Calvin has been breaking down from a legal perspective the things that we often find in the news. I'm pretty sure you have those questions, right? I know I do. So tonight I'm going to be asking Calvin so many questions. We have still so much when it comes to Epstein. What do you guys think? Is there any there? Or what about Charlie Kirk? We know so many people are still talking about Charlie, but not only with Charlie. This week we had a new sniper event that happened right in Dallas, and we're blessed that our criminal defense attorney by the name of Calvin Johnson is right there in that city with boots on the ground. We're going to welcome in Calvin Johnson. Calvin, how are you doing today?
Mel, I'm doing great, man. Welcome back. Welcome to you, man. And just we want to provide information to the people. We want to let them know what's going on. And we want our podcast to be a place where you can come get some answers and some clarity. And so we want to provide some of that today for everybody.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. This week, as you know, Sean Diddy Combs, we'll start off with him. He entered court this week not wearing the sweater and khaki pants that I saw him wear every day of the trial. This time he appeared in court wearing the jail garb. What do you think about that? What was the purpose?
Well, he may have had something to do in court that day, but I think what they're trying to show is that they're not going to give any preferential treatment, or favorable treatment. Typically, when you go to court, if you're not there for some kind of hearing that involves a jury or outside people, that's the garb that everybody comes in court in. You don't get to dress out because you're going to court. You don't get to dress out because you're Mr. Combs. If you're not going there for some jury trial or big hearing where other people will be making decisions on what's happening with your case, typically, that's how you're dressed out.
Okay, now I know you covered some high-profile cases. If Sean Puffy Combs was your client, are you advising him on his clothes?
Yes, I am. You don't want to look too spiffy, but you don't want to look beaten down. And what I try to do is middle of the road. Sometimes I'll have my client just wear a black suit. I'll have them wear a shirt and a tie, or a shirt with no tie, to know that the jury and the judge know that they're there for business. But you don't want to be too spiffy. You don't want to show up and be too loud or too fancy. You want to show the court respect, but you also want to do it in a way that's kind of in the middle of the road. That's what I tell my clients to do when we're in those situations.
Now, as you know, I attended Sean Diddy Combs' trial every day for, let's say, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, including the jury selection. As background information, I found out they approved for him to have 5 sweaters and 5 khaki pants of his selection. Is that normal?
It's normal because what you want to do is you don't want to prejudice the jury by them seeing a defendant in jail garb all the time, right? So if I'm a jury and my first time I'm seeing you, you're in the jail outfit and you're shackled and chained, that may put in the jury's head, hey, for them to be doing that, he must already be guilty. And so you don't want to put out the impression that that person is already guilty. And by bringing them in with a striped jumpsuit or something that says U.S. Division Bureau of Prisons or something like that, it can look like or you're guilty. So they do that so that they do not prejudice the jury.
All right. So I'm sitting in the courtroom and they bring out Diddy each morning. And the first morning he walks out, he has gray hair. And I'm like, wow, this is so stressful that Diddy has grayed. But I found out, no, he just stopped putting in the dye because he wanted the jurors to see him where he sits.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
I think that's smart. I mean, what they have this idea of Diddy being this particular person, young mogul, and they associate maybe some of their young mogulness with some of his behavior. And I think when you bring yourself out, let them see your true self. Hey, I'm a little older. Hey, maybe my skin is not as nice and moisturized as it was when I was out. You want them to see you as a regular person. You don't want them to see you as Sean, as a superstar, because that's kind of how they were looking at him. He's a superstar. He's a mogul. He can do whatever he wants. And you want to try to alleviate that idea in their heads.
Okay, so when it comes to the media, everybody's talking about how this week they're trying to get Diddy a new trial, what have you. What's actually going on here?
I just don't think that needs to happen. If I was him, if I was advising him, I think he was able to beat a couple of the charges, a number of the charges. And I think that because of what he's facing, I don't think he's facing a whole lot of time. He's been incarcerated for a while. At the worst case scenario, like I said, to me, I think he'll do 2 or 3 more years, somewhere between 1.5 years and 3 more years is where I'm thinking he'd do after all of the time he's already spent in there. I wouldn't risk that, because if you go back and get found guilty of something more serious, then you could have some problems, because you have to understand, if you try to appeal this thing, then the whole thing could end up toppling on your head. So I just think that he needs to try to put his best foot forward to try to get the lowest sentence possible so he can get home.
Okay, so when Diddy's verdict dropped, they did not let him go home. We talked about it. They also tried again, let my client go home. The judge came back and said no. Based on this long history of rejection at a high level, is it smart to think that they're going to let him walk next Friday with time served? What are your thoughts?
I don't think that they are. You and I had this conversation earlier, and we had some other people come on our channel doubting it. I just said to myself, I just don't think they're going to let him walk. If they were going to let him go home, they would go ahead and get it out of the way now so he would get used to being home. I think that the fact is that after the judge thought about it, after they had their hearing, I think the judge looked at the situation and said, no, I'm going to take into account everything that has happened. I'm not going to let him go home now. We'll come back and revisit it later. And of course, they keep saying no. And that just kind of tells me, based off of kind of the judge's change in attitude and outlook, that they're going to try to give him some time in addition to the time that he's already done. I just don't see him being able to come right home.
The federal government wants Diddy to serve 20 years or more. Parole made a recommendation for 7 years.
Wow.
But yet his attorneys think he should basically get 18 months, something like that. Where does this fall when you look at cases on a large scale?
I think with the probation department, the judges are going to lean heavy on what the probation department is saying. They really lean heavy on that. So if there is a suggestion of 7 years, now the judges are not going to follow completely what everybody wants. But I think I think when it comes to the state, 20 years is far too much. I think that is ridiculous at this point. But once again, we had a conversation, and I'm saying, we talked, I think initially 61 months to 73 months, I think was the conversation we had. And lo and behold, 6 years and 2 months is close to 7 years, like the probation department is actually recommending. So, but I think that they're going to go somewhere, if I'm correct, and I may not be correct, is I'm thinking they're going to go between the 3-year and the 5-year range, which he's already been in jail a full year. So I'm just thinking that, with all of the good time credits and stuff like that, he's probably going to spend either another 1.5 to 3 years more in jail is what I'm guesstimating. But like I said, I don't think they're just going to let him home. I mean, the probation department is recommending 7. The government wants 20, which is absolutely crazy to me. But I don't see the judge saying, I'm not going to follow what you're saying or what you're saying. I'm just going to let him go home. I just don't see that happening.
Now,
I mean,
I
I would love, for his sake, it would be great for him to come on, but I just don't think that's realistic looking at all the circumstances.
I attended Donald Trump's trial here in New York City. It was even keel from the courtroom across the media. But what I learned with Sean Diddy Combs' trial is that the media can sway the courtroom. So, being said, Shapiro, one of Diddy's attorneys, top-notch attorneys on Friday, basically said, listen, this is an embarrassment that you have this man in here on prostitution, the Mann Act charges. Actually, it's embedded in slavery. What do you think about that?
I knew that argument was going to come up because remember, we talked about this initially. The old boxer, Jack Johnson from Galveston, Texas, right here in my home state. Jack Johnson is one of the greatest boxers of history, not just African American boxers, but boxers, period, in history. And he had back in his day, he would always date white women. He would go to these fights and knock the white guys out and then date their women and then take those women across state lines. And because the government did not like that, they actually made a law up specifically for him that says that if he traveled across state lines with a white woman for moral purposes or sexual purposes, which that's what they would call it, that was a federal offense. And I think that so when they start talking about that and start talking about the Mann Act and Jack Johnson and applying it to P. Diddy Combs, that's kind of where you get a lot of that from.
Do you think that argument is strong enough to shame or sway the judge in this direction?
I don't think the judge cares cares about it like that. Most of these federal judges, for the most, all of them are appointed for life, so he doesn't really have to worry about media backlash as much. I think he'll get backlash from his colleagues if he does not be stern in what he wants to do. And I think that obviously, if he was going to let Mr. Diddy Combs go home, that it's some of these bond hearings and these other opportunities that he had to let Mr. Combs out or go light on him, he has not. And I just don't see that all of a sudden happening. You know what I mean?
Right. Judge Subramanian, he seems to be a really even keel type of judge, but he's only been on the bench for 2 years. Does he need to make a statement with his first big case of Sean Diddy Combs?
I think he needs to show that he's competent. I think he also needs to show that he is, for the most part, going to follow some of the recommendations of the police department, the probation department, excuse me. And when I say the federal probation department, people have to understand there's a difference when you are having a state case and a federal case. The probation department, the federal probation department actually does what they call a PSI on you. They look at your points, they look at your adding and your subtracting of points, and they make a recommendation to the judge. And so I think that he is going to want to be close to what the probation department is saying, which is like they're saying 7 years. I don't think he'll go that high, but he's also not going to try to go and let him go home if I got a probation department that's saying 7 years. I just don't see him doing that. And I think that also when you said, do I see him doing that because it's his first case, I encapsulate all of this by saying he's going to want to show that based on the work the probation department has done and based on the state has done, that he can meet her out a fair sentence. When I say meet her out a fair sentence, if they're at 20 and 7, I don't think he's just going to let the man go home. I think there's going to be some consequences that Mr. Combs is going to have to suffer.
Okay, very good. Let's move on now to a different subject that affects your hometown. Has there been any new developments in regards to the sniper shooting that occurred this week down in Dallas?
I think one of the gentlemen that got shot is actually being held alive by machines. There was not a lot of new information that has been given out. It's just it's very unfortunate situation because you had people blaming the left. But when you look at it, they didn't kill an ICE official. They pretty much actually shot a detainee. So from what I know, that the one of the people that got shot is actually being held alive by machines. And there's been a lot of conversations about protections around federal facilities that deal with immigration, protection for the officers, and protection for those who work in that arena. Because of what's happening in the world right now in terms of these ICE agency holes, these locations where they hold prisoners, the locations where ICE takes care of its business. There's been a lot of talk of trying to address those things and make sure those places are safe.
Okay, so the big $1 million question everybody wants to know is, if he's upset with ICE, why would he shoot the detainees?
See, that's the thing that we worry about. That's the thing we think about. There are a lot of us that say, hey, when something's wrong, even with the shooting of Charlie Kirk, they're saying, hey, well, how do you shoot a white guy in Utah and then all of a sudden blame HBCUs? And so some people are very concerned about some of the background that's kind of happening here when you are targeting ICE, but you shoot a detainee. When you target HBCUs and people to the left or people of color, but it happened on a Utah State campus around a bunch of Utah people, you know, and those are the kinds of things that, as the general public, we all also have to start worrying about because of the way that the world is right now.
All right. In the high skies of MAGA, many of them are thinking that there's an underlying deep, dark web of individuals who are colluding together. And that's why we see Charlie Kirk being shot from the top of a building. Someone shot at Donald Trump, top of the building. We also saw this week. They think that this is all intertwined. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I got thoughts about it. It's kind of funny because as they think that it's all intertwined, people on the left think the opposite. They think that they're doing this to themselves. I mean, I've talked to some people who actually feel that way. Now, are they right about that? I can't say that they're wrong, but at the same time, as many conspiracy theories that the right throws, there are people on the left that think that, hey, they could be doing this in cahoots with somebody else so that they can actually start a race or class or party war against us on the left.
Wow. Go ahead.
That's what some people are thinking.
Okay. One of our commentators, Franco, says Kirk was a piece of shit, always spreading hate and ignorance.
I always tell people I never agree with Charlie Kirk. I don't respect him a lot. He's a college dropout. I know he has a following within the MAGA community, but I never saw the big deal in him. But I'm not here to disparage him either, but I don't give his comments a lot of credence in my life. I wish him the best. It's America. He has the right to say whatever he wants. But at the same time, I still have the right, and others have the right to feel, based on what he was saying to people, that they don't have to like him. I didn't respect him because I think he said some very disrespectful stuff to a lot of African-American women that were in certain positions. And these women, he actually called DEI hires and so on and so forth, when these women finished close to the top of their classes and they were very accomplished. And he used them as an example in one of his arguments that he was having. Not just somebody who does that, I'm just not a big fan of. But at the same time, that's just kind of the world we live in.
Right. There was a guy about 2 months ago that shot at the CDC building in Georgia. So they're shooting at CDC, shooting at the ICE building. We have all these different shootings. When you're having a special event like what Kirk was shot at, it's easier perhaps to say, okay, let's put out National Guard or whatever, let's protect this place. But when you have random shootings just pretty much anywhere at your local CDC, whatever, how can they really ward that off?
It's going to be very, very hard. And like I tell people, man, I love America, that we have the ability to own our weapons and be able to have access to those weapons. But I also tell people that everybody's not responsible enough to have guns. And when you have a situation like this, all it takes is a nut job in another city, another place that gets access to a building, and we got another situation. There's about 3 or 4% of us in this world that should not have weapons. The other 96, 95%, we're good. But there are 3 or 4% don't need to have weapons. We need to realize and figure out who they are and make sure that we keep those weapons out of their hands, because, like I said, the consequences of somebody having a weapon that does not know what to do with it or will use it dangerously, those consequences are death. And we cannot have that on a continuous basis. I think we can reduce that number.
I believe I mentioned before, I have an FBI client, and he said that about 70% of the weapons in the United States are in those middle red states. Is that the reason why we don't see a change when it comes to the gun laws.
I think that's true. I mean, and like I'm in Texas, they love their guns. We love our guns here in Texas.
Right.
And I see some people in the comic section commenting, and so that y'all know, and I just got to say this, Mel, I have no ill will against Charlie Kirk. I think it's very important that he got killed in front of his wife and his children. I could definitely respect that. But at the same time, I have watched some of those videos in context, and I have saw some of the things that he said. I disagree with some of the things that he said, but he has the right to say them, and he can say them if he wants to. I'm not mad at him for saying them. I just disagree with him, and I steer clear of kind of supporting him in that. But at the same time, nobody deserves to die the death that he died, and God bless his soul and his family. Because I just don't think anybody deserves that.
All right. Can you explain to some of these individuals in the audience how you develop your legal perspective?
My name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I'm a 24-year, almost 25-year practicing attorney here in Dallas, Texas. I hold degrees in political science and history, so I actually have a double major out of Howard Payne University in Brownwood, Texas. Also attended the Douglas MacArthur Academy of Freedom. And in that particular building at that university at Howard Payne, we go in depth into history and politics. So I actually have a degree in this matter, and I know my history in this matter. But I've been doing this for about 24, 25 years. I'm also a former political candidate for city council here in Dallas. And I run a number of foundations. I used to work for Chris Bosh Foundation, NBA player, and as well as Sarah Foundation, who I actually work and do community cleanups, and we help our seniors. So that's kind of what I do.
All right. Thank you very much. And you add so much to the show. Could you explain to us, a lot of people are using the word racist when it comes to Charlie. Was he a racist, or was he just explaining facts about other races?
I think that when you listen to this conversation, he uses a lot of kind of analogies when he talks about the comment about the Moranic black women. He made comments about Ketanji Brown and Michelle Obama being DEI hires, and that's how they got their positions. And those two ladies actually finished at the top of their classes. I think that as the African American, when you see somebody make those kind of comments toward African American women, you can draw the conclusion that person may feel a particular way about African Americans or African American women. So I think that that's kind of where a lot of the brouhaha came up. I don't know if Mr. Kirk is racist or not, but I know he said a lot of things that would offend a lot of people of color. I'm a little different because he can't really offend me because I don't really follow him like that. I don't really respect his opinion to the level that some other people may. But with that being said, I think that anybody who's upset that somebody might call him a racist, they shouldn't be, because I think that they should look at some of the things he said. And when you say that to people of color, that's probably what people of color are going to think that you are. I don't know if he was or not. I've heard that he actually has some decent relationships with some other African-American people. But I'm just telling you, in this world, in this space, if you say certain things, people are going to think that you are racist. So that's just kind of what it is. But Mel, I have to say this, I have a unique perspective. When people start talking about he's a racist and this and that, I honestly am not focused on Mr. Kirk and people who think like that, or people who have those opinions. I'm more concerned about what I can do for myself, how I can take care of my family. And when it comes to Black people, I want to see them do better. And whatever I can do as a person to help the people that look like me and those who are in my community, that's really what I want to do. So when somebody says something, I really don't put a lot of stock into it, even if it's reprehensible. If I don't really know you to respect you enough to really take your opinion as something that should really move me or be valued in my life, I really don't let it concern me.
Okay, so Charlie was the leader of Turning Point. And from what I understand, according to rumor, Israel had given him $80 million and he came perhaps with a set of talking points. Does that make a difference when you're given talking points?
It does. People are concerned about some of that stuff if you're funded about some outside organization, and I don't know if he is. There was a rumor, but when you have those things happening, that's of high concern, because you already have this situation where Israel and the Palestinians out in Gaza. You got that stuff going on, and you got Mr. Kirk saying whatever he was saying. I'm concerned when I see that kind of stuff, if that actually happened, but I don't know if it actually happened or not. But with that being said, that would really concern me if that did happen.
Okay. One of the individuals in the comment section would say, as an attorney, you'd be compromised to express your true feelings.
What did he say?
He said basically you're compromised. You can't express your true feelings because you are an attorney.
This is what I tell people. I am expressing my true opinion. I'm the type of person to where I'll say this: if you're somebody that can't teach me anything, or somebody that I can learn something from, then I don't give your opinion a lot of sway in my life. And so when people say I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other, I just kind of know who I am and where I'm at, and I don't let like somebody like Mr. Charlie Kirk. I would probably look at him and they said, oh, well, he dropped out of college. He says this, he says that. He's part of Turning Point USA. They may be getting funding from here or there. When I look at an individual like that, I'm not going to hate them, but I'm also not going to really respect their opinion a lot, because in my life, he can't really teach me anything. He can't really sow into my life. He's not somebody whose opinion I respect highly. There are others that really respect his opinion. I'm just not one of them. And so I'm a little oblivious to it when we start talking about that, because everybody is allowed to have an opinion. There's some black folks that are going to talk real bad about white folks, but some white folks will probably say, hey, look, I'm not worried about what that guy's saying. And there are some of us who actually feel this way and live like that. I mean, I am 53. Mr. Kirk is 31. I'm 22 years older than him. So I don't look at him with any reverence, because he hasn't lived the life I lived. I went to college and I finished. I did this. I got it out the mud. I became a lawyer coming from a rough neighborhood in Southern Dallas. So I've done a lot in my life. And for somebody like me to look back and be taken by an opinion of somebody like Mr. Kirk just doesn't do it for me.
Okay. Because Charlie was a strong Christian, at least that's what they expressed, a lot of people in the MAGA movement have started to push the Christianity as well. But do you think they fully embrace what it means to love your neighbor as yourself, as the Christ would have expressed?
Sometimes I don't think that they do. I think that we have become a country, and a lot of people may not like what I'm saying. We've become a country where we use God to justify our politics. And when I say use God to justify our politics, you have those on the left and those on the right that are using the Bible and using Christianity in a way to say, hey, the Democrats are more godly because they've been believing empathy and sympathy and this. And the Republicans are more godly because they believe in more foundational principles and they're strict believers of this and that. I don't really get into that. I try to be extremely objective. And one of the things that I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, when it comes to the MAGA movement, a lot of them do justify their political leanings by using Christianity. And we had a deep conversation about that yesterday. And we were talking about people on the right and the left. I don't put political or politics before God. My relationship with God and me following the Bible and that kind of stuff comes first. My allegiance to a political party comes after that, even if I have one. So I just think that with the MAGA movement, there is a feeling from a lot of people that they're using Christianity to say that they're right about whatever they're doing, and I think that's of high concern for people of faith, whether it be on the right or the left.
The big argument that came out from the Democrats some time ago is that Russia is the one who started the MAGA movement. Is this why we see so much divide in the country?
I don't think that is, and I don't think Russia started the MAGA movement. The MAGA movement kind of happened because I think that people that are in middle America and rural America and the Iron Belt felt what they're being left behind. And they felt like, of course, their ancestors started this country, did a lot to build this country. And they felt like the government started to prioritize other people ahead of them, right? And so blacks, immigrants, people from other places, people from other groups. And I think that the MAGA movement rose out of that. I think part of it is color, but I also think a part of it is, hey, this is our country. We're spending all of this money and giving all of this attention and giving all these opportunities to people that they're either A, brought here or B, snuck here. And we're paying our taxes and they're taking our money and our opportunities, and they should not be doing that. I think a lot of it arose from there. But I also think that there is part of America that is still dealing with some deep-seated race issues. And I think that is also part of it. But I think the bigger part of it is the fact that the average American and those people in MAGA country felt like that things had went too far left, being normal in their eyes was being looked upon as something negative. And I can definitely understand their heightened senses and concerns about being left behind when they feel like it's their country, that their ancestors got here, that their ancestors fought for. And so I can definitely understand how they feel when it comes to that.
Do you think allowing men to play in women's sports was the straw that broke the camel's back?
It's one of the straws. It's a lot of straws. It's allowing men to play in women's sports. The bathroom issue is a tough one for people like myself. Drag queen story time is a tough one. When they start talking about sexuality in front of kids in school and putting it in some of these books, that's not something that anybody should want, whether MAGA or to the left. And I think the Democratic Party allowed some of the parts of the left wing, some parts of the far left wing, to have too much influence on policy. And they had so much influence on policy that they forgot about the regular American. And I think that the bathroom issue, I think that the sports issue, where you have people that were born as men, boxing, running, playing basketball, playing volleyball, that should not happen. And it's nothing against anybody from the LGBT community or trans community, but that kind of competition where you have full-grown men going against boys, going against women, shouldn't happen. I'll give you an example, Mel. I actually commented, because I got a daughter. I actually commented that I would not let my daughter fight an Amon Khalif, whoever the lady was that the lady got punched and quit. And I had somebody from the trans community or trans supporting community come on, well, that's not fair, and my daughter needs to feel comfortable, and this and that. And I basically said to her, I said, well, so my daughter's supposed to get her face beat in just so yours can be comfortable? I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. I said, I don't care what situation, I'm going to speak up for my daughter. And she literally took that, posted it on a page, rephrased it, and tried to make me look like I was the problem. And so you're looking at somebody who typically, for most of my life, I've leaned Democrat. I'm not a full-blown Democrat right now at this point. But for somebody who's supposed to allegedly be in the same tent with me, and I have that kind of conversation with that person, it's a problem. You can't allow one wing of a party to completely control the entire agenda to where it turns the rest of the country off. And that's kind of what's happening.
Okay. There was a time years ago when Oprah Winfrey could basically put her name on something and it would sell like crazy. People would go out and follow her lead. Barack Obama had that same effect shortly after office. Do you think his time has ran?
His time has ran. And I think that I will tell people this. I don't think he was a bad president. I think he could have did some things better. But at the same time, I also understand that the world that Barack Obama was president under no longer exists. And I also think that even when it comes to policy, you had him highly support the LGBTQ community. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of friends that are in that community. I pray for them. I'm not going to treat them in a particular kind of way or try to tell them how to live their lives. But you had a lot of people that felt like, hey, you lit the rainbow up in the White House and you gave more attention to that part of the country than anybody else. And so a lot of people feel like, hey, you did not take care of everybody when you were in there. You were only concerned with them and their wing. And then there were a lot of folks in Middle America that said, hey, we voted for you. We trusted you to do this, but we didn't trust you to only take care of a particular wing or to change what we consider foundational values. And you have a lot of Christians that are MAGA or right-leaning Christians that do not believe that the LGBTQ community can be biblical. And so when you go over and you do some things as president to anger part of people who voted for you, then that's what's going to happen. And when it comes to Oprah, Oprah is loved by a lot of people, but at the same time, there seems to be a myth that we got to have a magic woman and a magic man that can tell everything, tell Black people or tell people of color what they need to do. And I think that Barack Obama being a wealthy man and Oprah Winfrey at this point being a wealthy woman, she doesn't live the daily struggles that the average American has. Neither does Mr. Obama. So with that being said, they can't come tell us what to do. They don't have the same concerns that we have. Even with Mr. Obama being a Black man, his concerns and my concerns are not the same. He has his money. His kids are being raised. They're grown. He has a pension that's going to pay him the rest of his life. I still got to get it. My daughter still has to go to school. I need to make sure that she goes to school and she goes to the restroom and she don't have to worry about somebody who was born a guy being in there. I'm just saying what I'm saying. I'm just being honest. Some people can get mad at me about it, but he's not living in the same world that we are. So why should we go and ask him about all of this? Ask them to come out and tell us what to do. And I just I don't understand why there seems to be a need to find a particular African-American woman or African-American man that happens to be a celebrity or former politician to speak for all of us. They don't. Each Black person has their own issues and the concerns. Collectively, we have some concerns, but personally, we have our own concerns.
Okay, Kamala Harris only had 107 days to try to win the White House, but she allegedly spent $1 billion. How does that make sense?
Oh, my God. I tell people all the time, and some people will get mad at me. Oh, you hating on Kamala. You hating on Kamala. I just said, hey, look, when I listened to her at the debates, I wasn't impressed. She kind of kept coming on with the same narrative of her mom buying her house, being a small business owner, yada this, yada that. And it was just a lot of anti-Trump stuff. I really wanted to know more about her. What was she going to do when she was put in certain situations? And the way that she ran her campaign, I was concerned about. And I know Biden kind of hamstrung her, but at the same time, she never had to go through any primaries. That's the problem. And I did not like some of the campaign events where you got to bring Beyonce out and you got to pay them. You got to bring Meg Thee Stallion out. You got to pay her. The dancing at the political rally, suggestively. The Glorilla doing the song where they have to beat the words out. A lot of people will get mad at me and try to equivocate and try to defend it. But I try to tell people that middle America, people that are independents, people that are right-leaning that you want, that do not like Mr. Trump, that you want to get to vote for you, when they look at stuff like that, they're not coming over here. In addition to that, I don't think that she had any African-American male outreach program until we said something about it. And then once we said something about it, I think they kind of got on it. But I know she only had 107 days to run, but she didn't have to go to a primary. And if she had went to a primary, I don't think she would have been the one that came out of it. And so that's just what I thought about the Kamala Harris run.
Okay, so we have quite a few people tuning in. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe if you like the material. Calvin, could you take a moment and tell everyone how to reach you?
My name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I can be reached at the website, theywon'tletmeout.com. All spelled out, theywon'tletmeout.com. I can be reached at attorney, whole word spelled out, Attorney Calvin D. Johnson at gmail.com. Or I can be reached at 214-565-5600. So that's the way that I can be reached.
This week, we heard from Hillary Clinton after quite some time, and she expressed how Donald Trump has basically learned how to capture the social media arena versus the Democrats who are pretty much stuck using the payphone. What are your thoughts about that?
The Democrats are using a rotary phone at this point. They're not using a regular payphone. Mr. Trump is extremely intelligent when it comes to using social media. He knows how to get the optics right. He does an excellent job of being able to figure out how to gain the loyalty of his followers, as well as he's able to give optics to regular Americans that are going to benefit him and his party, like sending the MAGA people to the HBCUs. A lot of people are looking at the HBCUs and say, "Oh yeah, they didn't want to debate. They ran those guys off campus." And I think what they don't see is that it's a bad look. It's bad optics, even for the HBCUs, because what happens is you send your MAGA folk out there, and they're allegedly being ran off campus. And what happens when I'm in Congress and the bill comes up to fund that school, and I see them run some of my good MAGA folk off, or run some people that are white away from a HBCU, and the government funds those. See, Mr. Trump knows what he is doing. He's being smart by getting that optic. He knows when he sends those group of people over there that they're probably going to get ran off the campus, and he knows he's going to have a good look at it. And for however you feel about Donald Trump, he has very smart, and he is very useful in terms of understanding the internet, understanding Instagram, Facebook, and social media platforms. And he does a great job when you look, it is a great job of really capturing social media in the moment. You know, that kind of, as they say, the microwave moment. He's a great job of that.
Okay, so based on where the Democrats sit right now, do you think, based on the whole Epstein scandal and all these things that are occurring, that the midterm elections will sway back to the Democrats?
I thought maybe they had a chance for that to happen, but they're not capitalizing on it. And I tell people, Epstein, of course, is important. You definitely want to know kind of what's going on with that. But I think the Democrats need to bring themselves back to the middle. They need to get away from the far left. They need to get back to normalcy. And they need to get back to average Americans, which means people that are raising a family, trying to make sure that family's safe, trying to buy a car, trying to send their kids to college, and trying to get jobs. They are prioritized the more of the immigrants, more of the people to the far left, the LGBTQ. They've kind of capitalized on the abortion issue. But the average American is not going to A, either prioritize those things, or B, care about those things. They're trying to, in this moment, can I buy groceries this week? Can I afford a car? Will I get a job? Should I even get a student loan to go to college? Is it going to be worth it? Is that degree even going to be worth anything 4 or 5 years from now? The Democrats have to understand that that's what they need to focus on. They went too far left, and I still don't see a concerted effort to bring it back to the middle and go talk to Joe and Jill and Bobby and Jenny in middle America. And they're not doing that. And when it comes to African-American men, they have a great message for African-American women, but they're still not talking to African-American men a lot and trying to figure out what their concerns are, even after losing a lot of those. So I don't see it possibly swinging back in the middle. I think the MAGA folks are they're actually enthused. I think they're ready they're chomping at the bit now, because Trump, with the Kirk thing and some of the stuff he's doing and how he's pushing their buttons to make it be the left and African Americans' fault for what happens to Mr. Kirk. I think that he is doing a great job of painting that narrative, and that's going to energize them. And I just don't see the same energy coming from the Democrats.
A lot of people voted for Donald Trump because they were hurting financially, but as of today, we have the highest number of foreclosures and repossessions. People's cars are piling up. They're coming in by the droves. Whose fault is that?
I think some of the policies with the tariffs are really tough. I do another side business in high-end audio, and he's put tariffs on our stuff. There are a bunch of shoemakers that sell shoes internationally. There are a lot of people that buy things from other countries. They have business relationships with other countries. I was listening to a report to where 40% of America's soybeans, $12 billion, is bought by China. And we went to this war with China about trade, right? And they said last year, $12 billion, 40% of the soybeans in America were sold to China. Do you know how much money has been spent this year on soybeans that came from China?
What?
Zero.
True.
So you go from 12 billion to zero. Now you might win on some other issues with China, but you also hurting American farmers when they try to sell their soybeans. So, you got to start thinking about this. This economy is bad. He's laying off a lot of governmental workers. I even heard this morning that Starbucks was laying off. So if Starbucks is laying off, I'll tell you what that tells me. Their per store projections or earnings must be down, number one. And what is happening is if people are not buying Starbucks, it's because they can't afford it. People who like Starbucks go to Starbucks religiously. And it's gotten to a point where they're saying, hey, I can't afford that Starbucks. I'm going to get me some Folgers at the house. I'm going to make it myself because I can't afford that. And so when you start seeing places like Starbucks laying people off and closing, that's of high concern. I think financially we're in trouble right now.
I'm not sure if you ever driven down 95 from New York by New Jersey, but you see a lot of containers out there for the containers of different products that are coming in from China and all over the place. Well, the container business right now has taken a hit. And usually this time of year, it's so bombarded because of the Black Friday, Christmas, all of that. But this year, it's like a ghost town. Or do you think this is connected to tariffs?
It is connected to tariffs. And what has happened is there's going to be a shift, and people have to understand what these tariffs do. What happens is I put a tariff on a widget that we've been using to build our machine, right? And they come from America, right? So I put this tariff on the widget. Now, as a company, you've increased my cost. I've already projected sales to people. So now these machines, I will make less money, or I might even lose money. So what these companies are starting to do that are international companies, they're doing two things. They're going to build their own widgets, or they're going to invest money in other places that they know that they will not have trade issues with. I'll give you an example. China right now is shifting to soybeans coming out of Brazil. They've started investing a lot of money into Brazilian infrastructure to try to maybe get their soybeans from Brazil. And so once you realize that they say, we're not going to buy any soybeans from America, I know what they're thinking. We're going to take that $12 billion that we buy soybeans from. We're going to take some of it and buy the needed soybeans for now. We're going to take the other half and we're going to invest. If we can't grow the soybeans here, we're going to find another country to partner with, and that's where we're going to get our soybeans. And that's going to be the pipeline. So let's say that Trump loses in 2 years or 3 years and is no longer president. What's going to happen is that business is not coming back. They're going to still go to Brazil to get their soybeans. And so these American farmers that are out here that voted for him, thinking he was going to protect them, his tariff has actually hurt them.
A lot of American farmers are coming forth saying that they're taking a big hit. Do you think this is a publicity stunt, or these are real stories?
I think it's real stories. Like I told you before, like the soybean issue. If I go from 1 year's 12 billion and then all of a sudden now is zero, where are those soybeans going? They're either going to be given away, they're going to be sold in America at a discount, or it's going to go bad. And I think these farmers are going to hurt because also not only did I hear that a lot of the business got diverted to other countries, a lot of the subsidies that under Biden that were provided have also been wiped away. So you take away the subsidies and you took away our customers. So a lot of the farmers are really hurting.
Do you think that this is just a normal flow and curve of life, that the pendulum swings Republican, it swings back to Democrats, and we're just going to keep swinging back and forth?
No, I don't think it's one of those things. Mr. Trump has actually indicted James Comey at this point. Mr. Trump is actually in his administration, when it came to Charlie Kirk, he really went after people who did not agree with Mr. Kirk. And so when you have those people in those situations, he wanted folks fired. He wanted people to lose their jobs. And so when you have that kind of thing going on, you're hurting real people. And I had not seen it like this before. I hadn't seen the curtailment of free speech. Of course, you have the Jimmy Kimmel situation where they took him off the air. He was mad at the radio station. He was mad at the ABC, and a lot of people consider Disney stuff. When you got an authoritarian kind of president like Mr. Trump is, it can be a huge problem. And I don't see that this is just a swing from one way or the other. I think it's a swing to limit free speech. I think it's a swing to limit the ability for citizens to have their own autonomy, to think and feel the way they want to feel. I think this is bigger than that at this point.
The Democrats are really going after Donald Trump, and we saw Fani Willis had the case of the century where she could have really put the screws to him, but she dropped the ball. Do you think that we'll see the same activity from the Republicans with Trump administration when they pull these cases, that people won't actually go to jail? Or do you think they're going to be more surgical in locking people up?
They would definitely be more surgical, but I don't know if they're going to be able to lock them up, because I think some of the reasoning that they're doing this is political. I think that they can actually approach something and they can achieve it and they can execute it. I think they'll do a good job of that. But I don't think that some of the stuff that they're bringing, I don't think some of it is valid reasoning. I think a lot of it is to get back at people who maybe have wronged Donald Trump in his eyes. And I think that's where the difference lies.
Do you think it's okay to lock up high officials, indict high officials of the United States like Comey, like John Bolton?
I don't. And the reason why, first of all, it costs a lot of money to get lawyers. You're challenging their freedom. And then when somebody takes a government job to uphold justice and order in this country, and then when they leave their positions, you go after them politically because you don't like them coming after you because you just happen to win a presidency. That is not something that we should be doing. That's dangerous. That's terrible. We do not want that kind of behavior, not just from Democrats or Republicans, but from anyone.
Liberty and Justice for All says this is occurring basically because they did criminal activities.
My question to the Liberty and All, and like I said, I'm kind of in the middle here. Well, what happened on January 6th when they broke into and basically were trying to go and get at congressmen? Nobody did anything about that. Mr. Trump was president then. And when these people got prosecuted, he basically pardoned most of them and let them out. Let's be honest, even the person that is making these comments, be honest with yourself. If you like Mr. Trump and you feel like he serves your best interest, hey, just feel that way and say it. But also be honest that you know that they're going after these folks because Mr. Trump feels like he was wronged by them. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, or wrong with supporting Mr. Trump if that's how you feel. But with that being said, you can't sit up here and act like all of a sudden, oh, Mr. Comey is the guy that's doing the wrong stuff. No, we can't be myopic when we talk about this. I think that's one of the problems I think we have in society now, Mel. I think that when it comes to some Democrats, really the far left ones, and there's some of the MAGA people that are really far right, you can't have a conversation with them. If you attack Trump, or if you attack Biden or Kamala or somebody on that they hold this high regard, that they completely lose their objectivity. And I think we got to get away from that. I mean, we got to understand that even though, hey, I may support Mr. Trump as president, he can do some wrong. He can make some mistakes and he can make some moves that are not right. But I support him. And I think that we have to be honest with ourselves about that. A lot of folks can't see anything wrong in anything he ever does. And then there's some people on the left that can't see anything wrong that Kamala or Biden or just say Jasmine Crockett as an example, or Cory Booker as an example. They may look at those people and say they can do no wrong because I support them. And I think we got to really, 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 really get away from that.
Okay, Tissues for MAGA says they literally said to kill Mike Pence, our vice president, and nothing happened to these traitors.
And see, that's the thing that I talk about, and people don't understand how serious that was. Going after those people when they're at the Capitol, breaking out the windows, breaking through security. People really, 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 really don't understand how serious that was. What if they would have got in there and killed the vice president? Or let's say they would have got in there and like some people love Maxine Waters, some people hate it. But let's say they go after Auntie Maxine or Diana or Miss Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, I mean. And let's say they got their hands on her. Do you understand how bad that could have went? What about the people that elected, Nancy Pelosi or elected Maxine Waters? How do you think that they're going to feel? And if I was a family member of Maxine Waters and somebody did something to her and the government wasn't going to do anything to them, I might want to do something to them. And that's I'm not outside the realm. And see, that's that lawlessness that's coming from me. I'm responding to the lawlessness that's going to come from them. And so we got to start really having some serious conversations about how bad January 6th was. That was a bad situation, man. It could have really gotten worse.
Do you think it set the tone to let the MAGA or Trump supporters know that if you do anything in my name, you will be okay?
I think that's how some of them may feel. And I think some of the people in the middle and the left feel like they feel like they can do anything and that Mr. Trump is going to pretty much push it to the side and he's going to protect them. And I think that's dangerous. It's dangerous for a number of reasons. Number one, if you're doing that because you think he has the power to tell you to do it is one thing. The other thing is that when you go out and do some of these things that are unethical or unfair to the other side, the side nowadays, everybody got a gun. Everybody got the ability to fight back. It's a very dangerous situation when you feel like, hey, this president is telling me I need to go take this and I can go do that. Man, some of these people will leave you where you're standing at if you think that just because somebody said you could do it, you go do it. Nobody's going to give up their rights. Nobody's going to give up their money. Nobody's going to give up their guns and their ability to be able to live and make a living just because you feel like your president told you you can start taking stuff away from them. And whether that be Mr. Trump as president or whether that be if a Democrat wins, whether it be him as the president, nobody on either side is going to deal with it. Nobody on either side is tougher than the other. And everybody needs to start understanding that.
Okay, guys, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe if you like the material. I'm going to drop the link in about 10 minutes. So if any of you would like to come up and ask any questions or share your comment, feel free to do so. What are your thoughts? This week, we see that the National Guard is now in Portland, Oregon, I believe, and also in Chicago as of last night.
And see, those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. You go to states where you know that they're left states and you know that they have some issues, but you don't target any of the other areas of the country, right? And I think that on one end, the people of those states and those particular places deserve law enforcement to be there and to be held accountable, and they need to be safe. But with that being said, when you start to send your troops to a place and it looks like a political hit job, then that's not a good thing that we should be doing as a country. Because the next time that somebody else wins, what if they decide they're going to go do that? We shouldn't be doing that. We need to stay fair and balanced. And at the end of the day, if you're an American, whether Trump wins or whether Biden wins or Kamala wins or J.D. Vance wins or whoever wins, you still have to be able to respect that person as president, and that person needs to act as president of all of us. What we've been getting lately is when one side wins, they're just a president for the people that win, and the other side spends 4 years fighting them, and we got to get away from that.
Do you think that a severe change will occur soon in this country?
No. I think we're divided. And some people will say, oh, you don't like Mr. Trump. It's not that I don't like Mr. Trump. I just think his leadership, the way he leads by, and for example, in the shooting, you're pointing to the other side as being a problem. He has a very divisive way of leading people. And when you're his enemy, you're his enemy. So when you have an election and you go against him, and let's say you don't win, he doesn't step back and say, well, I'm everybody's president now. No, he goes and he views you as an enemy and he goes after you. And so now, instead of having a president of the entire United States, it's becoming, you're the president of a party that I voted for. And then when the other party wins, I'm going to spend 4 years fighting them. And so that's why I get kind of concerned about kind of what's going on with him and that.
Okay, very good. All right. So before we get started to the video, I'd like for you to take a moment to tell everyone how you can be reached.
My name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I can be reached at 214-565-5600. And I can be reached at theywon'tletmeout.com. And I can be reached at Attorney Calvin D. Johnson at gmail.com.
Okay, thank you very much. So this week it came out about this serial killer in your neighborhood of Houston, right? And the authorities came out and said it wasn't a serial killer, but they're still finding bodies. So I want to take some time to go through the video and see what your thoughts are in regards to the matter, okay?
Just watch that.
Afternoon. First, I wish we were not having to have this press conference, but let me state, enough is enough of misinformation, wild speculation by either social media, elected officials, candidates, the media. We do not have any evidence that there is a serial killer loose in Houston, Texas. Let me say that again. There is no evidence that there is a serial killer loose on the streets of Houston. If there was, you would hear it from me first. This is being held to make certain that everyone knows we operate in my administration and HPD in total transparency. What we know and can release to you, you will know as soon as anyone. But at some point in time, we have to let HPD complete its work.
So far in the video, is it normal for them to come out and say that there's no serial killer?
I think in this situation, it is, because what he is trying to do, he don't want people panicking. But I always tell people in these kind of investigations, because I'm a lawyer and I've been practicing for almost 25 years, they hold pieces of information back, because the mayor's responsibility is to make sure that people remain safe, but also that they don't panic. And in addition to that, some people may say, well, why doesn't he share every single thing that he knows about this then, if he's going to do that? Well, the problem is, typically in these situations, they hold back a little piece of information because they use that information as part of their investigation. And so they don't want people panicking. And they'd also, if there is a serial killer, they don't want the serial killer to know that we know that there is one. He might just get on a train, leave the country, go somewhere else. And so they're saying that there's not one, but honestly, you can't really take that with a grain of salt. They might be trying to just manage the situation.
Okay.
Give you the facts, look at individual cases. These 5 tragic drownings discovered over a 5-day period is alarming. One is too many. But if you allow HPD to identify the individuals, do their investigation, you will see why we have the best police department in the nation. Our dive team regularly assists other agencies. So I'm before you today to let you know that enough is enough of wild speculation. It's very frustrating to me to be at home and watch the news or social media and see people spread what I know to be false. And so today we've brought the chief, captain of homicide, to inform you at what stage the investigations are.
Now he's speaking emphatically that this is false. Any comments on that?
I get it, Mel, but they keep finding bodies in the water. And so when you keep finding bodies in the water, you got to start thinking that maybe there is something to this. And no matter what he says, I know they're doing their investigation, but we don't know what's happening in Houston. When we look up every day, every 2 or 3 days, they find another body. That's just not normal. That's not normal in any city. And then when you have the 5th largest metropolitan area in the United States having this kind of issue, people become afraid. I'll give an example. I try to tell people, when it comes to population centers in the United States, the top 5 are as following. 1 is New York, 2 is LA, 3 is Chicago, 4 is the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, Houston's a bigger city, but as far as metropolitan area, because we have Fort Worth and we have 8, 9, 10 suburbs that hold more than 250,000 people, it creates a situation where we're larger as an area than Houston actually is. And number 5 is Houston. So you got in one of the 5 largest metropolitan areas, a body is seeming to be popping up every 3-4 days. That's not out of water. That's not normal. And so there is a concern that this is happening.
Okay, very good.
I grew up in Houston. Unfortunately, drowning in our bayous is not a new phenomenon. It's an alarming discovery. We have 2,500 miles of bayous or waterways in Houston, Texas. We have homeless living underneath the bridge. What do you think when a homeless person dies from an illness, diabetes, or cancer? What do you think his friends and associates do? They do not take him to a funeral home. Unfortunately, the homeless, when they pass, often end up in the bayou. Reason why we're working so hard to get the homeless off.
Calvin, do you recall any time previously where 5 people showed up in the water in 5 days?
No. And that's what I'm looking at now. I'm like, nah, I'm looking and I don't see it. I don't think it's ever happened. And I'm concerned because when this keeps popping up, it's a huge situation. So when somebody dies, if I'm a homeless encampment, I'm just going to take them down there and put them in the bayou and let them float away. I don't know about that. I think I'll call somebody, let them come get them, because I don't want to seem like I'm grabbing that particular body and throwing it in the water. They may think that I actually killed the person. So that's why I get concerned. Something's wrong here, and maybe they're not saying it, but that's just my opinion as a lawyer. I'm looking at this wholeheartedly as saying something's wrong here. And most people are feeling the same way. And that concern is actually coming through with him having this press conference in the first place.
Okay.
The streets of Houston. Alcohol plays a major role. Mental health plays a major role. Unfortunately, there are 2,500 miles of bayous, and people are exposed to them. Sometimes foul play, often not. Accidents. So I'm here today to thank HPD, its investigators, and to make certain that the community knows that while you're working, raising your family, sleeping at night, 24/7, 7 days a week, HPD is doing some of the best investigative work in our nation. Makes me proud to be mayor of Houston. We do have challenges with public safety. One of the reasons I ran for mayor. But a serial killer on the loose is not one of our challenges today as it relates to public safety.
Do you think it has something to do with maybe elections coming up?
Well, he recently took a couple of years ago, took the place of Sylvester Turner, who was Houston mayor. He has since passed away. I think that's part of it, but I think this particular gentleman is heavy in the business community here in the Houston area. I think his position is pretty solid as far as him being the mayor. I just think that a lot is happening. I think that a city the size of Houston, with all of the people that were already there, and then you had a lot of people from New Orleans and then Atlanta moved there. It's a lot for any police department to deal with. And then in a large metropolitan area with a lot of waterways, man, Houston has a lot of water around it. I mean, people have to understand, my wife's from down there, family down there. And then I got some friends from college. that live out in Liberty Ames area, which is outside of Houston. And so we know people that are all about, but there are a lot of waterways down in Houston. And so I hear what he's saying about that, but the fact that people keep washing up is of high concern.
Okay.
Yes, recruitment is at an all-time high. The cadet classes are full. We're headed in the right direction. But today we're here to allow the chief and the captain to let you know exactly what the facts as we know them to be today. Chief Diaz.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank our media partners for showing up and reporting the facts with us. Our dive team has recovered 5 bodies from bayous across the city of Houston between September 15th and 20th. There's no evidence, and I repeat, no evidence to suggest that any of these incidents are connected. In all of the 5 incidents, the medical examiner's office will determine the cause of death. The investigation into these incidents is pending the determination of the ME's office. For us as an agency, rumors stir fear and anxiety in our communities. It's important to rely on verified information and investigations. So I'm going to bring up Captain Zia. He's going to cover the 5 that happened in the last week so that you can have the facts.
So he's making it seem that it's a matter of verified information.
Well, see, that's the thing. I'm concerned because it's like, look, and I'm saying to myself, with that being said, you got 5 bodies though, and you got 5 bodies in 5 days. So maybe it isn't a serial killer, but with that being said, you can't get mad at the public for thinking it is, right? You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's one of those things where, you can't look at one thing and get mad at people because they're thinking it is happening when they see 5 bodies in a place like Houston, Texas. I mean, what do you think it is, right?
Right.
We have them at the moment. All this stuff is preliminary. Again, we're not doctors up here. The medical examiner will make the final decision on the cause of death. Captain Zia?
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, everyone.
So we're just going to listen to a little bit more of this from this doctor.
Yeah.
So I just want to reiterate that in all 5 instances, the ruling in regards to the manner and cause of death are still pending. So the first incident was September 15th. A body was recovered in Brays Bayou at 4998 Spur 5 Freeway. That's Brays Bayou before 10 a.m. The ME's office identified the deceased as Jade Elise McKissick, 20 years old. Preliminary investigation indicates that there were no signs of trauma or foul play. But again, I reiterate that we have to wait until the actual autopsy results come out. Another body was recovered on the same day. It was located in Hunting.
So this first victim that they discussed had no trauma. What do you think?
Well, see, who knows? It could be something else. They don't have trauma, but in today's world, what can you do? You can use sedatives to put somebody out. I mean, you can slip something in their drink. You can give them some kind of drugs. You can actually give them fentanyl and they can OD. They have these other drugs that can actually take control of your body and you not feel anything. So even though there's no trauma doesn't really mean a lot. Some people want to avoid trauma so that they don't get caught. With all of these television shows right now and all of these things in forensics that people either A, that there are information out there about, and B, look at some of the shows, look at some of the true crime things where people learn things. I mean, look at Dexter. I mean, you got to think about people would know how to, in this day and age, know how to kill somebody without having a lot of trauma to their bodies. I mean, and if you're going to be doing that as a serial killer, you can definitely find the information to try to be as quiet and as discreet as possible.
In your local area of Dallas, are people really concerned about what's happening with this in Houston, or you don't really hear a lot about it?
We do. We hear a lot of Houston stuff. Houston and Dallas hear a lot of stuff between each other. There's a road, I-45, that runs between Houston and Dallas. It's about 3 to 3.5 hours away from each other to where you can get to Dallas, Houston. It's a straight shot. And a lot of things that happen in Houston, we could hear in Dallas and vice versa, because we're 2 large cities We're the two largest cities in the state of Texas, and we're the fourth and fifth largest metropolitan areas of the United States. And so we get their news and they get our news sometimes. So we hear about it a lot.
Okay, let's go.
Hunting Bayou at 13,400 East Freeway at about 11:50 a.m. The ME's office has not identified the deceased individual in that incident. The next one was September 16th. Body was located at White Oak Bayou at 2200 White Oak Drive at about 1:25 p.m. Again, the ME's office has not identified the deceased individual. There was one on September 18th. Body was located in Buffalo Bayou at 400 Jensen Drive at about 2 p.m. ME has not identified the deceased in that incident as well. September 20th was the last incident. Body was located in Buffalo Bayou at 900 North York Street at about 8:25 a.m. The ME's office has identified the deceased in that individual, but because we don't know whether the next of kin have been notified, it wouldn't be right for us to identify that individual at this time. And I just want to reiterate that I understand social media is the medium of communication in today's age, but a lot of times there's a lot of unverified information that circulates. And our job as detectives and as an investigative body is to follow the science and the evidence. And that's what allows us to be able to do our job. And that's where we're focused.
They seem to be quite concerned about what's going around on social media as bad information. What do you think?
I think some of it is people with social media. You can actually make a lot of suggestions and you can actually put a lot of rumors in motion. So I can definitely understand if I'm a police officer in a major city that I would want to control that. And so that's kind of what he's doing, you know? So that's kind of how it is. And then we can try to limit that if I'm a police department, but that's just part of it.
Right. Okay, so this is the day after this actually came out. I want you to see how they found another body.
Residents are demanding more surveillance along our bayous after another body is found in a Houston waterway.
Police say a woman's body was found in Buffalo Bayou near Commerce and Milam Streets downtown last night. This is the sixth body recovered in less than 2 weeks from bayous across town. 5 of the deceased have now been identified.
Orko Mano live downtown, and Orko, our viewers have been very vocal about what they want to see in response to this. Tell us.
Yeah, Len, our comment sections on social media are filled with people saying more surveillance cameras are needed along the bayou. City leaders tell me that's just not feasible, but criminal justice experts say cameras might be the best way to prove what city officials and police have been saying all along, that no serial killer is on the loose.
So from what you know, they don't have a lot of cameras up out there, right?
Well, that's one of the problems out there in Houston because Houston's kind of more spread out than Dallas is. Dallas, we have a lot more roadways, and there's not a lot of flock cameras, right? Because of the roadways out in Houston. Houston is really spread out. Like in Dallas, you have like street to street to street to street. So we have a lot of the flock cameras out. There's a lot of freeways to jump on, jump off of. When it comes to Dallas, believe it or not, Dallas is more of a central hub to start getting to the rest of the other areas of the country because Houston is down more south, and Dallas kind of sits at the topper part of Texas to where like you can drive from Atlanta on through, you can drive to Chicago up, you can drive out to Phoenix and Arizona and California this way, and you can drive to the Midwest and to the east by going up and away. Houston's not set up that much that way. And when I try to tell people what Flock cameras are, Flock is a company out of Florida. They have partnered with a lot of the cities in Texas, a lot of law enforcement agencies, and a lot of businesses to put up cameras at stops, stoplights, intersections, freeway entrances, and they run a network of cameras that they can capture automobile license plate information and that kind of stuff. And so Houston, there's some Flock cameras there, but not as much as a place like Dallas. And that's why when we say Metroplex area, we're such a more urban area here in Dallas that all these little cities have ways to get to them. So we have more cameras. In Houston, you don't have the camera network that we would have in Dallas.
Okay, thank you for that local insight.
Another body found in Houston's bayous. Police say a woman was spotted in the water near Commerce and Millam Streets around 11:30 last night.
Officers were alerted to this by people that were riding by on scooters, and when they noticed something that appeared to be a body.
This is the sixth body recovered in bayous in less than 2 weeks, leading many to believe it's the work of a serial killer. City leaders saying earlier this week that's not the case.
There is no evidence that there's a serial killer loose on the streets of Houston.
But the public wants answers. KHOU 11 viewers Hannah, Lucy, and Chris all commenting on our posts online, asking for more surveillance cameras by the water. I brought that to City Council member Carolyn Evans Shabazz. A lot of people have come to us asking for more surveillance by the water. Is that something the City Council is looking into?
I have heard that suggestion, but I don't know how we could implement that. To say that we can install cameras, we would have no idea where to put them because we don't know where the bodies went into the bayou.
To be honest, serial killers are very rare.
Even so, criminal justice expert Krista Gehring tells me more cameras might be what's needed to put those rumors to rest. How important is it to try to show that to people who are convinced there is a serial killer?
I think it's very important because obviously when you have these bodies showing up seemingly all at once, there's obvious concern. The camera might actually capture where an individual falls into the bayou or has an accident or is intoxicated or whatever, because that's likely what is happening.
Now, I also reached out to the Houston Parks Board, which manages.
Now, one of the things they stated is that the water, the bayou, is not designed to swim on. So are there any local beaches in Houston or no?
No, not really. If you want to go to the beach, typically you go down to Galveston, Texas. So it's not one of those things where you can actually go down to a beach. You're pretty much, if you're going to a beach, you got to go to Galveston, right? And so that's pretty much what has to happen. You have to go to Galveston to go to a beach. So those waterways are more like bayous. They're more like beltways where you're crossing stuff. Like, for example, my wife's grandmother, one is getting ready to turn 100. And when we go to her house, we kind of go over this bridge and there's a huge body of water, but it's not like a beach body of water. It's just a beltway where you're going over water and there's not like houses and stuff built up to the water where it's like a beach situation. It's different in Houston. They have a lot of waterways, but they don't have any beaches, and that kind of tells you kind of what you're dealing with.
Okay, all right, very good. So thank you for that insight. Do you think, are you really concerned about what's happening there, or it could go either way?
I am concerned about it because, man, when women start turning up, man, you don't want that to happen. And like I said, we go to Houston. My wife's from there. I know a lot of people in Houston. I went to law school with some folks that live down there. I got great friends down there. I got my domino partner lives outside of Houston. Some of the people I went to Howard Payne University live in Houston. We stand with our brothers and sisters in Houston, and I hope that they find out what's going on down here. And the other part of it is, hell, somebody leaves Houston, the next place for them to go is Dallas. It's on 3.5 hours away. So Dallas would be a nice place to come hide because it's a big city. So you got to start thinking about that when you start talking about that kind of situation.
I saw a video with one of the girls, I think maybe the fourth victim. She was at a bar. She left her cell phone at the bar. She walked to the bayou. She stopped at the store, had a drink, and just walked, and it seemed that she jumped into the water or went straight to the bayou. Does that seem strange to you that it didn't seem like someone guided her? Yeah, that's strange to me. But once again, like I said, without having more context of what was happening that night, it's hard to kind of think about it. But that seems weird to me. Why would somebody do that? And that's just, but then too, you have situations where I tell people it's hard out here. Mental health is real. Some people don't want to be here anymore. And I had a conversation recently with a young man, and he was telling me his thought process is not wanting to be here anymore. And I said, wow, like that doesn't make any. And then I thought about it. Some people are unable to process all of the challenges and problems that they have. And sometimes you could also have people that just say, hey, I'm tired of living life. I'm tired of the pressure.
I can't handle it anymore. I just want to get out of here. And you have to start thinking about that. That's a real possibility as well. May not be a serial killer. So, and then you have a place like Houston where you have, you know, the area in totality has about 5 million people in it. That's a lot. That's a lot of people, and that could be a lot of people that could potentially have problems mentally.
Do you think it'll be a bad reflection on the mayor and the police if it turns out to be a serial killer and they actually downplayed it?
I think it will be a bad look, but I think if it is one, I don't think they're gonna tell us because they don't want a bad look, and that's part of what we're dealing with. As a mayor, you want to exude confidence, you want to spook the community, but you're also a politician. And if I'm a police chief, I'm running a police department. I'm also, in a sense, even though I'm a chief or a sheriff, I'm a politician, whether I want to be one or not. And so you want to have a good look about what's happening. And we have situations where somebody may not admit, hey, it's actually happening that way.
Right. You think it's a possibility it might be bad drugs and people are just ending up, or you think maybe young kids are pushing people, or
it could be a number of things. It could be a combination of things. When you have a city that big with that many people and that many waterways, you know, a lot can happen. There could be multiple reasons why stuff is happening.
I would imagine, I haven't been to Houston, but I imagine they have a lot of bridges if that's 2,500 feet of bayous, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. Listen, they have a lot of bridges. They have a lot of bayous. They have a lot of waterways. Houston has this thing called a ship channel. And actually, when we go to the grandmother's house is turning 100, you know, so, and we go over that water. We go see May Francis, we go over that water, and it's a beltway, you know, it's a huge body of water.
Right. Okay, very good. So as we approach this week, you know, Friday is going to be the big day for Sean Diddy Combs' trial. I wanted to try to have you answer some questions in regards to what to expect next. So they left off with the judge. He's going to basically decide on whether this, you know, the future of the case, or will he get a new case? Will that happen, you think, at sentencing, or you think the judge would respond before?
I think it'll happen at sentencing. I don't think he's going to be able to get a new trial. I don't really think that's what's best for him, if you're asking me, to be honest. But I think he's going to make the decision. I don't think he will get a new trial. I think they'll go proceed with the sentencing. And typically what happens is the state puts on their witnesses. I would imagine they would call Cassie. They're probably going to call a couple of the alleged victims. And especially when it comes to these abuse allegations, they're probably definitely going to try to call Cassie. And then the other side, Diddy's is probably going to call Mr. Combs himself, possibly, or family members, people that have worked with him, or even people that he had been in relationships with that never felt threatened and felt like that they were doing everything on their free will. So those are those. That's kind of how that goes. The other side will probably have some experts testify in terms of what they think of what people like Mr. Combs will do. And I think that that's kind of what's going to happen.
So if Mr. Combs did not testify for his own trial, do they really want to hear from him at the sentencing?
I think sometimes they do. I think sometimes judges want to hear from you. You want to tell them how you have evolved, right? You want to tell them how you have changed, right? You want to tell them that you have the opportunity to do something different, be better. You also want to show some contrition about what happened. You also want to point out not just the bad things that they said you did in trial, but a lot of the good things that you've done, establishing and regulating, giving people opportunities, stuff in the community that you've done, things you've donated to, people you've helped. And so you want to be able to humanize yourself, right? And I think that the best way to humanize yourself.
Okay. So when they first started with the trial, basically his attorney stood in front and said, hey, listen, my client has been guilty of domestic violence, right? Mm-hmm. But the judge actually used that against him when it came down to the verdict, and also whether he would get his freedom after the verdict came through. So does it make sense now for Sean Diddy Combs to actually say, yes, I was guilty of domestic violence and I'm sorry?
He should do that immediately. That should be the first thing that they gets asked. And then when the other side ask him that, he should admit to it quickly and move on. I try to tell people, you get the bad stuff out the way first. I always say it's like there's going to be chaos when you have a hearing, right? So I always say I like to control the chaos, which means that I put Mr. Diddy up there first. Then I put out what I want to put out first, which means if I know that there's something bad, tell it my way first before they try to tell it their way. So I try to control whatever chaos is happening. So I think it'll be smart if they call him, get him out there, get the bad stuff out the way. And if we're going to have a hearing that takes 3 or 4 hours, I don't want most of the hearing discussing the bad stuff that I've done.
Is it a good to think that perhaps the judge is going to come to the hearing or to the sentencing already with the time defined? Like, what benefit would it be? Could Sean Diddy Combs change what the judge has already determined?
He could. He could definitely change it. Because part of that, making a decision as a judge, let me look at some of the people that were affected by it. Let me look at some of the people that know Mr. Combs and that have maybe positive relationships with him or positive interactions with him. So as an attorney, I want to try to maximize the people on Mr. Combs' side to say, Judge, hey, look, he's not dangerous. He's somebody who is a businessman. He's somebody who's learned from this. He's somebody that can move forward and do some good in life, and you want to put that out there.
So let's say they do sentence him. Let's say he gets a year or 2, whatever it is. Will he actually go to federal prison?
Yeah, I think he will. They might try to ask for house arrest. I've seen people get that before. The judge can make him go back to prison for a while, or the judge can even do a combination of the two if they choose to. He can make the request. If I'm the lawyer, I'm going to make the request. Can we be held in house arrest? But it doesn't seem like judge wants to give that because remember, he had all these opportunities to Mr. Combs home, and he didn't do it. And I just don't see him walking in here and let Mr. Combs go home now.
One of the things that came up is that Sean Diddy Combs has been teaching and helping other inmates with various counseling and programs or what have you. Does that really make a difference in the end?
It does. If you're having your time in jail and you have an opportunity to affect people, I think it's a good thing that Mr. Combs does talk to these people, gives them some counseling, and gives them some business advice about what they can do when they get out, because he has a unique skill set. I mean, for as much as we don't like Mr. Combs is iconic. Mr. Combs started a record label. Mr. Combs has represented and put out some of the best music in our lives. And he's a very successful businessman. He's ran some of the better businesses in the world and made a lot of money doing so. And I think it's good that he is sharing some of his experiences with prisoners in there and then trying to get them to do the right thing and not go in the wrong direction. I think just sitting there and doing nothing, that doesn't help anybody. There may be some people in there that, hey, man, I shared a cell with Mr. Combs and he taught me something. And I think that's something that's good in society would want.
Now, if he's granted a new trial, will those 3 major crimes still be on the table? Or in
certain situations, they can be, depending on what the basis for the mistrial, you know? So there could be a situation where he could get retried for all of it. And see, that's the concern. Not only that, if you do a retrial, you run the risk of other stuff just popping up. And so that's why, to me, he got a great result. He need to ride with it. He need to try to just get as short period of time as possible, get back home, and get back to work.
We keep seeing rumors that the federal government might add new charges to him. Is that something that's likely?
I don't think that they're going to do that. Partly because Trump is president, even though Trump and Diddy don't have the best relationship. But I think that when you beat a case, you beat a case. To try to come back and do something else, I don't think the public will look at that kindly.
Okay, very good. Could you give us an update on what's happening with Carmelo Anthony's case down in Texas?
I can. It's kind of funny because I ran into Carmelo's attorney. I did not talk at length about his case because I don't want to be sharing stuff. There's a gag order with that. But the judge in that particular court definitely has a gag order. He's keeping everything calm and quiet, and nobody is allowed to comment. And that's the thing. I know Judge Roach. I know Mike Howard. I think the attorney wants things quiet so he can go do his job. And the judge wants things quiet too, so that there's not a lot of talk around the case. unnecessary conversations. So I actually ran into Mr. Howard actually Friday when I was at the courthouse. And so, I definitely don't want to get him in any trouble because I actually know Judge Roach, and Judge Roach is a very strict by the book judge, and he's not allowing anybody to say anything.
Okay, when it comes to this particular case, I don't know if you could say it or not, but do you think there's a strong chance that he could succeed in winning this?
I think it's going to be very, very difficult because somebody lost their life. And I think with the way that everything started over maybe somebody sitting in a tent and some back and forth about that, and then for it to lead to somebody losing their life, I think it's going to be very difficult, as well as being out there in Collin County. I just don't think that demographic is just going to let him walk up out of there with nothing. A win may be getting him a lesser conviction, like a manslaughter or criminally negligent homicide. That might be something that's there. That maybe he gets a lesser charge, but I just think that trying to say that they're going to beat that case just on self-defense, I think it's going to be hard personally, but that's just what I think.
And it's become one of the talking points for MAGA, I believe, that they had raised $500,000
yes,
for the case, and then they still ended up getting a public defender.
Well, what happens is, what I try to explain to people, when you have a murder case this big, like Mr. Howard is still hired as an attorney, and then they say, well, he got a public defender. What I'll tell you is that when you have a huge case, like back in the day, me and Mr. Howard worked on a capital murder case together, and it was huge. I mean, our guy was accused of killing 2 people, and it was a team of us. It was me, Brad Lawler, Doug Parks, and Mike Howard. And so we had 4 attorneys because the state, because it was a capital murder, they had 4 attorneys. And so we each had different responsibilities to do. And what people don't understand, when you take one case, doesn't mean all the rest of your cases go away. So you need a court-appointed attorney there to be able to help you and assist you to be able to do some of those things. Paying 2 attorneys hundreds of dollars an hour, plus you got to still make sure that these people have a secure place to live and that they are away from danger on top of all that. That's why they ask for an attorney. And I think that the judge who made the ruling on this one probably saw that, hey, the state has 3 or 4 attorneys dedicated to this case. It puts the other young man at a disadvantage that he only has 1. So you at least appoint another attorney so that Mr. Howard can have some kind of help, because those cases are huge. There's a lot of documents to go through. There's a lot of discovery, and you need some help to be able to do all of that in the midst of going through a big case like that.
It's such a high tension case. How would they find jury members that haven't heard about the case or haven't developed some sort of opinion on it?
That's going to be hard. But I think that when you say developing an opinion, people could have done that. But the bigger question is going to be, will they bias based on what they already think? Are they going to be biased based on what they already saw? They may be able to find somebody that, hey, maybe heard about the case, but they're able to throw away those biases and judge equally and firmly. And I think that they'll be able to do that in Collin County. They're going to figure out a way to get a set of jurors to be able to get there. There's a unique way when you pick jurors in some murder cases or some capital murder cases. You can, on the jury questionnaire that sometimes you can give out, you can ask questions and they rate things from a 1 to a 5. And to be honest with you, there's a way to get rid of the 1s and the 5s, and you pick from the 2, 3s, and 4s that are kind of more in the middle, more center, that one may be more even. And so there's a way to be able to get there to try to find a unbiased, non-biased jury for a situation like that when you're picking juries for murder trials and capital murder trials.
When is the determination made to move a case to a different county?
There has to be a motion filed by the attorney to move the case to another county. And then the judge has to be able to grant that motion based off the fact that they cannot find a unbiased Collin County jury. I don't think this judge is going to allow that to happen. I think this judge is going to say that they can find a jury in Collin County. But with that being said, I don't think that it even benefits Mr. Howard to move it anywhere, because the only places you could move it would be up in Sherman, Texas. That's a worse jury for him. If you move it to Fort Worth, which is kind of west of Dallas, that's not a good place for him. If you try to go to Rockwall or Collin to the east, that's not a good place for him. I mean, Rockwall or Hunt to the east, that's not a good place for him. when I say not a good place for Carmelo Anthony. He'll stand a better chance in those areas. They're not going to move it to Dallas because I think that the state will feel like Dallas is a lot more liberal than Collin County. I try to tell people Collin County is a little bit more conservative than Dallas County. Dallas is one of the more liberal counties in the state. And so I don't see it being moved from there to there. So I think that trying to move this jury out to another county, it really doesn't help Carmelo.
Are there any cases where they have to beef up security for these type of events, or they basically just have the same all the time?
Oh, they're going to. But besides the Collin County Courthouse, I know those gentlemen that work there, the bailiffs and the people that do the wanding through, they use their own officers to do it. They don't subcontract that work. They use their the deputy bailiffs. That's the job that they do. They do a good job of wanding people to make sure stuff does not get in that courthouse. Those people are trained well. I know them. So I don't think they're going to have those issues. They're probably just going to go through the same methods that they use when they bring people in. They do a very thorough job of walking you in that courthouse. I was there this past Friday. So I spent majority of my day Friday out there, and I got to go back next week. So it's a pretty safe place with everything being said.
In the case of Sean Diddy Combs, they asked for a quick trial. When it's a big time murder case like this, do you think that's wise, or would you, if it was your client, you would try to push it off?
I'll try to push it off. There's a lot of information you have to go through. You have to realize a DA's office, you're going against the government's money, right? I try to tell people a case like this can cost $1 to $2 million for the state. Not just people think for the defense. The state can spend a couple of $1 million between experts and man hours and resources and experts and getting people here, and they can spend up to $1 million in a case like this. And so, as a private attorney, you're only going to get paid so much because your client don't have the kind of money. You're going to get $1 million. So do you want that to happen fast, or you want it to happen to where, hey, give me an attorney appointed. We both can go through all this. Let me get some assistance involved. You want to take your time because you want to do it right.
What does that look like from the standpoint of a public defender?
He has one hired attorney, one public defender. Being a public defender in this situation can be tough because even though you're kind of hamstrung a little bit, you can go ask the state for more resources to be able to get investigators and get other stuff. But it's a huge undertaking because even as a public defender, that's not just your only case either. You're still running docket every day. People think in these cases that something happens on somebody's case every single day, or something happens every single court date. There's some court days that nothing will happen at. They'll just be reset. And there's some court days where we have hearings and there'll be information and there'll be stuff happening. So there's a lot going on. And as a public defender, Mr. Anthony will not be your only client. You have several others going at the same time.
What does the compensation for a public defender look like? How does it work?
It depends on the county. In Texas and in Collin and maybe in some of the places like Dallas, they pay you a little bit. They pay you a little bit better. Collin, they don't have a lot of public defenders. They use private attorneys that get on a wheel and it rotates, and then you get appointed to stuff. And so you get paid hourly. And sometimes that money can be pretty good if you're getting paid hourly, but they kind of cap your fees, but you spend a lot of hours working on it. And so that's how that kind of looks pay-wise. But then some counties like Dallas, they have a whole division of public defenders. There's some great attorneys up there that do a great job. But I think they make probably between 75 and 90K, if I'm correct, is what I'm thinking. 75K, 80K, depending on how long you've been there. You can make a lot more than that. But I think their pay starts at 70 to 75K initially, and then it goes up.
Okay. For the last 15 minutes, I want to switch gears. But before we do so, can you tell everyone in the audience that maybe new how you can be reached?
I can be reached a number of ways. First, theywon'tletmeout.com. The other is 214-565-5600. And the other way to get me is emailing me at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com.
Okay, thank you very much. Elon Musk was the first one that really pushed this whole Epstein deal with Donald Trump. But this week it came out that him and Steve Bannon perhaps are in the Epstein files too. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, see, that's what why I worry. Mr. Epstein had his tentacles were everywhere. He met a lot of people. He knew a lot of people. So there are going to be some people that probably have photos with him, that have had drinks with him, that he might be pictures with women with. On Democrats, Republicans, and independents, I heard Epstein's money and influence touched everybody. So I think it's not just an issue of letting it out for Trump's sake. I feel like even some people on the Democratic side may have some issues when it comes to Epstein, because Epstein just didn't deal with Republicans. He dealt with Democrats too as well. As you notice, he had some close ties to Mr. Clinton as well as Mr. Trump.
Right. Do you think that this whole Epstein case is going to die off, or you think it's still going to take on steam?
I think it's still going to take on steam. I don't know if it's going to be under this administration, because I just think that there's something there with Trump and some of the people that he knows that he doesn't want exposed. But I think eventually it might take steam. But then, too, I just don't know, Mel, because, like I said, Epstein had ties to the left and the right and the middle. Because when you got that kind of money in politics, oh, my God. You know, there's not just the left side or right side. I mean, you got every side. You got the money to buy every side. So that's an issue.
Have you noticed that the Democrats are pretty quiet about it in comparison? It's mostly the Republicans that are pushing this Epstein dilemma.
Well, I felt like they were told that that they were going to get those files, and I think, honestly, I think they were told that a lot of the Democrats were met with Epstein, and he was involved in some of their alleged child trafficking situations, and I think Mr. Trump used that during the campaign, and now that he is trying to push that in the backyard as opposed to bringing it to the front yard, some of those followers feel bamboozled by him, and so I don't think that they're going to let it go.
Are you shocked that Kash Patel was one of the main ones pushing for the Epstein files, and now he's gone pretty silent on it?
Yeah, I hate to say it. You know, I always try to tell people, I'm not bendable, right? When I say I'm not bendable, if I get elected to office, I'm not going to let them talk me out of doing something because I want to hold my position or I'm trying to protect my career. If it's the right thing to do, I'm going to do it, and it hurts my career, so be it. That's the kind of guy I am. But you got a lot of people out here, the Kash Patels of the world and some of the other people that get in these agencies, they're going to be told what to do. They're going to do it, even though it's not ethical. And on one end, 1 month, they're screaming at the top of their lungs, Epstein files, Epstein files. Then they get that job, you get that pension, and everybody loves Kash Patel. Now you get quiet.
In most administrations, we've seen a clear distinction between the Department of Justice and the president. But we see a difference this time around. What does that tell you?
That's why I'm concerned. When the Department of Justice has been weaponized, they can try to go after people. They can go after me. They can go after you. If you have any problems, you ain't paying your taxes, I got you. You did this, I got you. You did that, I got you. They can really go after people, and that's the concern that we have now.
Right. What do you think would that ultimately make a big difference for the future, especially for your kids' generation?
It is because, I always tell people our system of government may not be perfect, but it lasted for a long time. But I think one side has decided that democracy no longer works for them. And I think that we take democracy for granted. And I think this presidency at this point has made us realize how fickle democracy can be, and freedom of speech can be, and freedom of expression can be. And I am concerned about the future that our children will go into for a number of reasons, not just because of the right and the MAGA movement, but also some of the left and some of the far left, and the weakness of the Democratic Party to stand up and fight harder for what they believe in, number one, and then for them to also get a little bit more foundational in what they believe in and not be swayed by those who go too far to the left. So those are the kinds of things that I get concerned with, Right.
Do you think that Barack Obama becoming president made a big difference as far as the race in this country?
I think it did, some in good ways, because it gave African Americans the hope that they could actually lead America. But I think also in bad ways, because it actually pulled out a lot of prejudice from people who just could not stand the man just because he was an African American leader. But with that being said, there are some people who had a problem with him with policy reasons, right? He deported more people than Trump did. People don't forget that. He pushed a lot of LGBTQ issues. He put the rainbow lights on the White House. Some people never forgive him for that. There's a lot of stuff that went on. And then when it comes to some African Americans, some feel like that he didn't do enough for the people who supported him the most, which would be African American voters. And so I think that him becoming president was a good thing, but it also came with a number of caveats, and it actually peeled a scab off of some wounds that I think America had. And that's my attitude toward Obama.
Do you think Donald Trump just pulled out these feelings from individuals, or you think it was there all along? They were just waiting to share.
I think it's there. I always tell people that the reason why I think Charlie Kirk is so popular is because he's saying some of the things that people were thinking. And I think that is that's the best way to describe that. Sometimes you have somebody truly out there saying the stuff that other people are already thinking. And so that's kind of what my opinion is on that one.
If you had a African American person saying those same talking points against Caucasians, do you think they would be able to stand?
Probably not, but I think some of that has happened. I had a conversation with somebody, and listen, I don't have any hate toward Joy Reid, who used to be on MSNBC, but I heard some of the things that she was saying on her show, and I became concerned, right? And the reason why I say I became concerned is because for when I heard her saying what she was saying, I stepped back and I said, wait a minute. I said, if a white person said that about a black person, we'd be upset, right? And so I saw what Joy Reid was saying, and she was saying some stuff, and I was like, ooh, I said, oh, that's not going to go over well. And so when we start talking about stuff like that, right? When we start looking at, hey, one side can do it, the other side can do it. I think white folks in America feel like that they're being made out to be demons at times, and that they're so wrong, and their people can't invent anything, and that they have committed the same crimes as some of their ancestors. And I think a lot of folks, from talking to some of my Caucasian friends, they feel like, hey, you know, maybe Uncle Jim Bob 40, 56 years ago was a racist, and he did some stuff to black people and created some bad situations for him. But it's not me. It's not my kids. That's not how I operate. So why should I pay for what Uncle Jim Bob did 40, 50, 60 years ago? I had a conversation with somebody recently that's a friend of mine, and we went in depth in that conversation. I kind of understood where they were coming from. But as an African-American, when you have this particular presence in America, you feel a particular way, and you see some of the oppression. And not only do you see the oppression, you're a victim of that oppression. And so I think that once you talk to somebody else, they feel like, hey, it's America. Everybody should be able to make it now. And then coming from our side, no, y'all had a head start. This happened, it happened. But my attitude toward it is kind of completely different. I'm not going to look to the past because of what happened. I still got to do what I got to do now. Still got to raise my daughter, got to get her to college, got to make sure she can afford college. She got to get a house. I got to take care of my family. I got to help my mother. And so I focus on those particular things. But some people don't focus on those things, and they focus completely on the race and some of the things that happened in the past, you know. And so I think that's kind of what I got to say about that one.
Okay, Nathan says, we the people in America need to become more purple. We need to delete race, color, and political indifference. The extreme right are just as bad as the extreme left.
And they are. And I try to tell people this all the time. I say, look, whether I'm Democratic leaning, independent, or if I was a Republican, I would tell people that we got some people on the far left that took it too far, man. I even had a guy that was LGBTQ tell me, hey, the trans people took that too far. He literally said it. And it's because he said, man, they're doing too much. And so we have to be able to, even in whatever box we fit in, understand just because we are part of this tribe and they have a sub-tribe, but because we on this side of the tribe, that we got to deal with everything that the sub-tribe got going on. And that includes Republicans with their middle of the road conservatives to the far righters, to their MAGA folks. Just because I'm a Republican does not have to mean that I agree with you on every single thing that you're pushing. I can agree with you on 70% of it, but I ought to be able to come out on that 30% and say, hey, look, we good on those first 7 things, but those last 3, man, now you took it too far. And I think we're losing the ability And the people that actually do this get shunned. We're losing the ability to be able to tell the far left and the far right, enough's enough. We got to come toward the middle.
Have you noticed that the transsexual has been pushed to the Democrats? In fact, they've come out with a new term called Trantifa now.
And see, that's the thing that is kind of alarming. I actually know somebody, a lawyer that transitioned to be trans. And I don't treat that person or mistreat that person in any way. But I do understand and I do feel like there's some people in the Democratic Party that say, hey, be the way you want to be, but some of the things that y'all want to push is pushing it too far. And then there's some people in the party, even those in the LGBTQ community, say, hey, y'all going too far. You're going so far that it's costing us over here. And not only that, it's costing the other groups that are part of the Democratic coalition, because it seems like the focus of the Democratic Party has become that 4 or 5 or 6% that's doing that, living that. And they're not worried about the other parts of America, the other parts of their party, or the other parts of that party that could vote Democrat. They have sold their soul almost to go too far left.
Okay, so we're about to wrap up the show. Could you just tell everybody where to reach you and perhaps close it out?
Listen, I'm Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I can reach several ways. The first way is theywon'tletmeout.com. The second way is my phone number, 214-565-5600. The third way is email at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. Listen, everyone, I want to have a conversation with you as an American. I wish the best for everybody. I don't wish any negativity on Charlie Kirk, his family, his wife, his people. But you do have to understand, when you, just because you die and people are honoring you, it does not change the stuff you said while you were living. And there's some people that, because he said what he said while he was living, they don't particularly care for him. They don't like him, and they feel the way they feel about him. I'm kind of the opinion is, I've watched some of the stuff that Mr. Kirk said. I don't agree with a lot he said. I think it was extremely disrespectful to Black women. I come from a Black woman, if you ain't noticed. But with that being said, I don't put a lot of grain of salt on it. I don't give it a lot of credence, because I don't really look at Mr. Kirk as somebody that I'm going to intellectually respect, or even as a Christian, I don't look to Mr. Kirk. And I'm not saying that he wasn't a good Christian or that he wasn't smart, but he is somebody that I would not listen to based on what I've seen. But for some of those who have seen him, for some of those who like him, I definitely understand how you feel. But with that being said, when an African-American person hears some of the things that he says, moronic Black woman, disrespecting Michelle Obama, disrespecting a Supreme Court justice, they're not going to be happy about it. And you have to have enough common sense to understand why. So with that being said, it doesn't mean that people should lack sympathy or empathy for anyone, but you have to understand why somebody wouldn't care for somebody who said that about their ancestors or people that they look up to, and vice versa. I brought up the situation with Joy Reid and some of the stuff she said. I definitely would understand why somebody would not like Joy Reid. If something happened to her, I feel bad that it happened to her, but I do not expect people from the other side to feel the way I feel, because they feel like that she said some things that were not appropriate toward them. But we got to start understanding that we have to start finding things in common, and we cannot continue to fight each other as Americans every 4 years and fight the other side, because eventually all of that's going to catch up with us.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody for tuning into the show. We definitely will have so much more this week, especially at lunch. We have the news at noon, and we also will have Calvin back on several times. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for all the likes, share, and subscriptions. We'll see you next week, Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock Central.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Different voices, but the same song. Loving a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love. sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.